Welcome back to another episode of Sports with a Z and a T. I am Bryce Zielinski alongside Taylor Lattimore. We are presented by Godzilla Media, sponsored by Mohawk Honda, Johnstone Supply in Troy, and Saving Face Barbershop up in Saratoga Springs. Otis is joining in on the start of the broadcast for those on the YouTube side of things, but you can also be listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts as well. We have a big show ahead of us as well, and we're going to try to keep it now that the regular season of the NFL is over. We really are going to try to keep this under an hour now. I don't know how true to my word I'm going to be tonight because we do have a lot of topics to get to, but we're going to do our best. We have the national championship that we have to get to, and Georgia is the top dog. We're going to talk some Carson Wentz choke jobs. We're going to talk some NFL coaching vacancies, head to the playoffs and check out Super Wildcard Weekend and preview all the matchups there and talk some Super Bowl favorites as well. So let's get right to it, Taylor. Obviously, Monday night. We are recording on Tuesday night. The show airs on Wednesday. Georgia, man. I mean, really caught me by surprise. We got a new top dog. That is Georgia. They beat Bama in the college football championship game. It did come down to the final drive before Bryce Young threw that pick six to seal their fate. This was a good game. It was a slow first half, nothing but field goals. And look, I mean, this Georgia team, I mean, that they really were successful all year long because of that very, very good defense that they have. And in the end, that was the reason why they won. I mean, they took the Heisman Trophy winner and Bryce Young and this offense and really, really limited what they were able to do. Now, do I think Alabama missing their top two wide receivers had a big role to play? Absolutely, I do. Obviously, John Michie lost. They lost them in the SEC championship game, and then obviously you lost Williams on like the first drive of the game. So it really was not good for Alabama's offense to lose those two guys. You can only do so much when you lose two of your weapons like that. But, I mean, that's not an excuse either. However, Bryce Young, 35 of 57, 369 yards, touchdown, and 2 picks. Never really seemed comfortable, and that's credit to the Georgia defense. Obviously, got to give credit to the offense as well. Stetson Bennett played poised, confident over the final 30 minutes, 17 of 26 for 224 yards, did what he had to do. But really, this game was about Georgia's defense.
Yeah, and in fact, it was about the defense, I would say, overall between both teams, especially like that first half we were wondering whether we were going to get a touchdown. I know there's definitely some people out there that put money just on the fact that there would be a touchdown scored in the game, and they were kind of sweating it out at halftime because it was only field goals, and neither team really could really get moving. It was a very defensive game, especially for that first half. And even in the second half, I mean, the play of the game, the play that ended the game was a defensive play. It was obviously that pick six of Bryce Young when they were trying to drive down the field. But I do think that missing your top two wide receivers for Alabama really did hurt them in terms of they really couldn't get anything going offensively at all. Like the few drives that they had, nothing really huge over the top, just mostly dink and dunk, just trying to get, that first down yardage any way you can. But, credit to Georgia. They had been, the better team all year up until around the SEC championship game where it kind of flipped, where we thought Alabama really was coming into themselves, and they looked to be, but I think they just kind of ran out of gas. Missing those top two weapons really, I did think hurt them, and Georgia's defense really just stepped up.
Yeah, I was pretty adamant that Bama was going to win this game. I
thought so too.
Really, I placed money on money line Bama.
Same.
I mean, I still did pretty well for myself in the game overall, but one of them was money line Bama, and that just did not happen. A big reason that did not happen. I mean, we talk about Georgia's defense. Let's talk about the pass rush that was helped by the run defense. I mean, one of the reasons Georgia could get so much pressure on Bryce Young and make him so uncomfortable was that it could blitz from anywhere it wanted because it knew Bama couldn't run the ball consistently. I mean, what Bama had been doing so well, they weren't able to do. I mean, Bama tried to do so in plenty of different ways, but it was really inconsistent all night long. Early in the game, you got Brian Robinson on the edge with tosses and sweeps, and It wasn't working. And that's really what had worked in the SEC championship game. And really, I mean, when you look at what Bama did to Cincinnati, they just ran the ball down their throat and dared Cincinnati to stop it, and they couldn't. Now, comparing Georgia and Cincinnati, you can't. That's just not something I'm doing. But, I mean, Georgia loaded the box, played, one high safety the entire time, and later in the game, Bama tried to run at the heart of the Dogs' defense and just, you're not going to win that battle. And Bama finished only with 30 yards rushing on 28 carries. I'm sorry, but I mean that's domination up front. And usually, you look in college, you look in the NFL, you look at why Bama has typically been so successful. It's because they dominate the line of scrimmage. You look at the teams that have won the Super Bowls the past couple of years. They dominate the line of scrimmage. And what Georgia did to Alabama, I mean, if we take away sack yardage, 30 yards on 28 carries, Bryce Young finished with minus 43 yards. It managed only 73 yards on 24 carries. Robinson was held to 68 yards on 22 totes a week after tearing Cincinnati's defense absolutely to shreds for 204 yards. I mean, this Georgia pass rush and defense was just absolutely phenomenal and a big reason why. I mean, look, it got Bama out of its game. I mean, Bryce Young is capable of carrying a team. We've seen it before. However, a lot of their success is predicated on the run, and they simply could not do it.
Yeah, I mean that's that you just read off there. That's like 1 yard a carry, like just over 1 yard a carry, like that. Yeah. And I mean, you could definitely tell, like you could see it because as you're watching the game, it's like every time Alabama tried to run, it was like right to the line of scrimmage, maybe a little bit over, maybe a yard, here and there. Everything that Alabama was trying pretty much got stopped for the majority of the game, aside from a few drives here and there where they were able to put stuff together. But like I said, even that, it was just like maybe at one decently big play here and then a lot of dink and dunk where they just couldn't get yardage. And I think give credit to Georgia. They really did their homework. They learned from that SEC title game and they took what they learned and they applied it with vigor. Like they were ready for that game. They were up, they were ready. And credit to them. They really, they won. They deserved to be the national championship. They showed why they were the number one defense all year long, the number one team for most of the year. I wish that I had put some money on Georgia. Or even the under. I think it hit because it was such a low scoring first half.
It was 53. Yeah.
51
total points. The over was 53.
Yeah. So definitely wish I'd hit on that one, but it is what it is. Credit to Georgia. It was a good game.
Yeah.
I like defensive games.
And when you look at Georgia, I mean, Stetson Bennett was Stetson Bennett for Georgia. And I mean, that's enough when you have a defense like that. It was not a great game by Bennett. He was not totally efficient. Held on to the ball for a second longer than he really should have a lot of the time. And you look at one of the moments that I think, the difference between this game and the SEC championship game, the fumble that occurred as he was sacked from behind. I mean, that led to Bama's lone touchdown. And that was a moment where when we look back at the SEC championship game, that's something that, I mean, Georgia fell apart after they started turning the ball over. That didn't happen this time, and Bennett really kept us cool, atoned for the fumble with 2 touchdown drives, and really was a big reason why Georgia won that game. And when you look at Bama, Jamison Williams, I go back to that injury. I think that hurt what they could do offensively as well. But Georgia, I think, really want to atone for what had happened in the SEC championship game, because until that game, they were the most dominant team in all of college football, and everybody was so thrown off by how bad they had looked. You knew they weren't going to look that bad again, but you also didn't think that Bama, me personally even, I just thought Bama couldn't be beat, and I was wrong, and congratulations to Georgia for your first championship since 1981.
Yeah, and I think that it was good defense on both sides. Like Georgia wasn't really moving the ball down the field. It was pretty much the same on both sides. A lot of punts in this game, and Georgia just put it together when they needed to at the very end there, and And then they made one really huge defensive play against Bryce Young at the very end to cap it off, to seal it. So
yeah, and the SEC has been pure domination of late, especially in the college football playoff. This is already the second time we've seen Bama and Georgia play in the college football championship. The last three SEC national champions are from the SEC. That would be Bama, LSU, and Georgia in that order.
I'm sure the odds for Alabama and Georgia even being back next year are
these are two teams built to win national titles, and they weren't even the best versions of themselves. Like, the scary thing is Bama had a tremendous year, but few would tell you that this was actually one of Saban's better teams. And for Georgia, while its defense is elite, there are still holes on the offense. But that being said, we're talking about two programs with holes that they're going to get fixed, and they already were in the national championship game. We're going to see this game again, at least in the SEC championship game. You could probably bank on one, if not both of these teams in the college football playoff again. If that doesn't help speed up playoff expansion, nothing will, because I think at this point you want to see some of the conferences have a bigger piece of the pie, not just one team. I'm sure the Big Ten would love nothing more than to just send more than just, Michigan that won the Big Ten. I'm sure they would have loved to have Ohio State in there. If you look at the Pac-12, I'm sure you would have loved to have someone in there, the Big 12, someone in there. So I think if this pace continues and you constantly see the SEC just winning, and four teams, it's really hard to put four of the best teams in all of college football in there. But I think if you continue to see this pattern, you're going to see the college football playoff expansion talk heat up quicker than we already want it to.
Yeah, I could see it, but I don't think it'll matter. Like, I think if we expand it, it's still going to be like Alabama and Georgia dominating. I just think that that's the way the programs are. That's the way college football is built right now. Occasionally, you're going to have an Ohio State or maybe a Clemson, not this Clemson team, but you know what I mean? Like a team that comes out of nowhere, starts getting good, gets the right quarterback, and gets the right juice together. Maybe a Penn State, hopefully, for your sake. But the majority of the time, you're going to have a team like Alabama and Georgia in there. Like, the SEC just dominates, and Alabama especially dominates, and Georgia's in its own right becoming a little bit of a dynasty in the last couple of years. They've been pretty good, but Alabama's, as long as Nick Saban's there, I don't see any way that Alabama's not at least in the playoff most, if not every single year, and maybe winning it most years too.
Yeah, so it's hard to believe, but this was a fun, not really for me, but it was a fun college football season for most. And obviously we had a lot of talk. We did our rankings. We talked about college football. We already going back to August, September, October, November, December. Here we are mid-January. It's finally come to an end. We'll leave it at that. There are going to be a lot of things changing, especially with the transfer portal. To be determined if Michigan, and we'll get to this in a little bit on the NFL side of things, the defending Big Ten champions might be losing their head coach soon to an NFL coaching vacancy. And obviously there's just constant turnover in the college football ranks. But one thing is constant, and that's the SEC dominates. Let's head to the NFL, Taylor. And, we're going to talk playoffs. We're going to talk coaching vacancies. But first and foremost, we have to talk about the Carson Wentz choke job, because if you thought I was not going to have this on the show, especially in the very beginning, you are so sorely mistaken. And I told everybody I would be insufferable if Carson Wentz and the Jaguars.
Oh, believe me, you are.
If Carson Wentz and the Colts lost to the Jaguars. By the way, thank you for the money, because I put, Jaguars money line on it.
Same.
I know you did too. Carson. I would like, for our YouTube, I had to even bring it out, Taylor. I have not worn this jersey in 2 years. I am wearing my Carson Wentz Eagles jersey, not because, I like Carson Wentz.
And I don't have a Carson Wentz Colts jersey, and I don't think I'll be buying one.
But I would like to personally thank you on behalf of my playoff-bound football team. I would like to thank you for the higher draft pick because you couldn't beat a 2-win Jacksonville Jaguars.
But can we rename this the Colts choke job, not Carson Wentz? Because
it's about Carson Wentz. It's not though.
It's not though, because Carson Wentz played bad. But you know who else played bad? The entire team. The defense made Trevor Lawrence look like he's an elite top tier quarterback. He didn't miss his first 13 throws. He threw for, I think, at least one. I blank it out, so I don't really know if he threw more than one touchdown, but I know he threw one, which has been hard for him to throw touchdowns his whole season thus far. I know he threw one the week before, but the fact that they made him look so good, the defense couldn't get up, the run game couldn't go anywhere. We weren't making holes for Jonathan Taylor to run. So if we're putting a place, everything like the entire game has to be Carson Wentz win us this game. That's not who he is. That's not who Carson Wentz is at all. I think we've seen that now. He needs a balanced team. He needs thank you. Colts choke job, because everything about the team was bad. There was not a good redeemable. It wasn't like the defense was making stops and giving him the ball back, and then Carson was just pooping on the field. It wasn't like Jonathan Taylor rushed for 100 yards and really took the pressure off Carson Wentz so that he could sit in the pocket and throw. It wasn't like the offensive line was giving him a ton of time to throw before they were being pressured by this vaunted Jaguars defense that made him look like he was a fool. Every part of the Colts was shit. So it's not just Carson Wentz's choke job. The entire team choked.
So it may be a Colts choke job specifically against the Jaguars, but this goes further than one game. So the Colts, you were better last year with Phillip Rivers than you were this year with Carson Wentz. And as the Colts are picking through the wreckage of missing the NFL postseason because Carson couldn't beat the damn Jags, you have Frank Reich sitting there on Monday at your year-end press conference, not guaranteeing Carson is the starting quarterback next.
Fine. Go.
Let me finish.
Because I don't want to say, but what you're saying is not entirely accurate. The way they framed it, he didn't. It's not like he was like, I'm not gonna say who's the starting quarterback. All he said was that I don't evaluate players publicly. What he's saying is he's protecting them good. He's protecting them bad. He's saying I'm not gonna sit here and say that any player is
one of us.
No,
this is what we heard about Carson Wentz the last 5 years in Philly.
If the team had asked him, "Oh, is Jonathan Taylor going to be your starting running back next year?" he would have said, "I do not evaluate players publicly."
No,
That's literally his.
Stop it.
That is literally what he said. Do you not follow Frank Reich? Obviously not, because that's literally what he does.
He was offensive coordinator for 2 years.
Yeah, but he didn't. He wasn't your head coach, so he wasn't taking pressers like this. Offensive coordinators don't take pressers like this. Sorry.
Yeah, choke job. Keep choking like the Colts. Listen,
but the fact of the matter is, if you're gonna say that they're not committing to Carson Wentz long term, that's not true.
They're not.
I mean, if they can get Desean Watson, I would take Desean Watson over Carson Wentz in a heartbeat. But you're not going to probably get him, so it's going to be Carson. It's not going to be Sam Ellinger, unless, maybe if he's good, I don't know.
So to your point, first off, Reich declined to say whether or not Wentz will be the starter in 2022, and said he's not going to evaluate players individually.
He doesn't evaluate players to the media. Why would he?
That's fine. That is not the same answer that he gave about Phillip Rivers last year.
Phillip Rivers was retiring.
You didn't. Let me finish.
They knew.
Would you let me finish, for fuck's sake?
Go for it. What did he say about Phillip Rivers?
So, as you would be saying, this could be Reich playing diplomat, not wanting to say anything in either direction before the offseason hits, and that he and, Chris Ballard have some big picture talks. Maybe that's what it is. Guess what? No, because except that in his year-end press conference last year, when asked if he wanted Phillip Rivers back, this is what Frank Reich said, and I quote, "Yes, as I sit here right now, I want Phillip Rivers to be my starting quarterback next year." Yikes.
Because
yikes.
He was going to retire. Everyone knew he was retiring.
You wouldn't say that.
It wasn't a secret that he was retiring. So what when he's
this
retiring quarterback? Would you like him to stay and play another year? Oh yeah, sure, I'd love to, but he's not going to.
The
relationship
between this makes the relationship between Indy and their supposed franchise. Would you let me finish?
Trying to pull this out. This is you in the media trying to pull this out. This is not
the media. I'm not the media, pal.
You are being the media right now because you're trying to read into things that aren't there yet. Just let the man have his offseason and evaluate. If he comes out and says he doesn't want Carson Wentz, then I trust him. And I trust Ballard. And I trust Ballard to do his due diligence to try and find a better quarterback. Because Carson Wentz is not the best quarterback in the league.
Listen. There is already tension between Indy and Wentz because just after 17 games, this team regressed. It's not like you could blame Reich for not guaranteeing Wentz a job. I'm not saying this is on Frank Reich.
But does Carson Wentz have anything to do with the defense playing like shit?
Carson Wentz
for 2 games?
This has nothing to do with the defense.
I know, but it has everything to do with the defense. If a team lost because of every phase of the game, then what does Carson Wentz have to do with it?
Carson Wentz was absolutely dreadful down the stretch. Reich routinely kept the ball out of Carson's hands for fear of him making the kinds of game-wrecking mistakes that he did in Jacksonville.
When did he keep it out of his hands?
The final 4 games.
Back in the league?
Final 4 games. His completion percentage was down to 58.3%. He only averaged 6 yards an attempt, gave up 10 sacks, only had 5 touchdown passes, turned the ball over 3 times. That is not the play of a franchise quarterback who is set to count for $28 million against the cap next season if the Colts bring him back. You're here telling me that Frank Reich is definitely would not sit here and say a $28 million man is not our starting franchise quarterback in front of the media when asked about it? Come on, Taylor.
No, he wouldn't say that. But all I'm saying is that I don't even care, really. If they find a better quarterback than Carson Wentz, I'm all for it. I just want the team to be good. But you can't put the collapse of the season all on the back of Carson Wentz because everyone played badly. And in the Cardinals game, which was within those 4 games that you talked about, he literally won us the game. So what are we doing here? Yeah, they're going to give it to Jonathan Taylor as much as possible. That's what keeping it out of Carson Wentz's hands. I would give it to Jonathan Taylor if I was the offensive coordinator. Why would you not with the season that he's having? So obviously, yeah, you're not going to trust Carson Wentz with the fucking play that he's been doing. But I mean, we get who we get. If we can get someone else, if we can bring in Desean Watson, I'm sure we would do it in a heartbeat. I mean, I don't know what Ballard's thinking because, I mean, that man sometimes makes weird decisions. He hasn't given us a wide receiver in a while outside of Pittman. But that's another thing that we haven't even talked about is the fact that Wentz doesn't really have much weapons besides Pittman. Pittman has 1,000 yards. The next highest is T.Y. Hilton with 290-something yards. That's pathetic. He doesn't have any weapons in the passing game to throw to. He doesn't have a deep threat because Paris Campbell is out half the time. And even when he was in, when he was in the beginning of the year, he was doing well as a deep threat. And Wentz tried to hit him a couple times downfield on Sunday. But, I mean, the defense played like shit too. The Jaguars, I can't put it on Wentz. Put it all on Wentz. I mean, Wentz played badly, but the defense played badly. And the running game was bad. And the play calling was sus.
I mean, it's the I mean, I feel like
and
it's
apparently
a
they have
cop-out
some
argument,
block.
but it's a cop-out argument, but it's not. I mean, it's the Jaguars. This was a 2-win team that I mean, it's the worst team in football.
No, the Colts don't have any excuse for losing that. There's none. I don't care that you had COVID. I don't care that you were losing people to COVID. I don't care that anything was happening. I don't care if Hard Knocks played a part in this because this is the first in-season Hard Knocks. We can talk about whether that played a factor in this collapse down the end. But I've been watching the Hard Knocks. It doesn't feel like it's that intrusive. It's not like they're sitting down for interviews. For the most part, it's just the narrator talking, which is obviously done post-production. And then they're just filming them with mostly secret fucking hidden cameras. They're just going about their business and there just happens to be cameras there that are filming them. And it's I don't really think that had a part to do with it, but it's possible. they're missing guys to COVID. They didn't miss any really big people for this game due to COVID, but
so just looking at Pro Football Focus, they charted 16 turnover-worthy throws from Carson heading into Sunday, with over half of those coming on the road, and that might be a conservative figure against the Jaguars. He lodged his 8th fumble of the year. That pushed his total number of turnovers for the season up to 14, and his turnover-worthy plays closer to the mid-20s. I mean, and this is a guy that the Colts traded the now 16th overall pick to the Philadelphia Eagles for, and now he's on the books for $28 million next year. I have a hard time believing you're going to get around that and find someone else that is going to start for you. But, and as hard as it is for me to say, I mean, I was a Carson Wentz truther for a very long time. But, I mean, what I saw from him this year was absolutely putrid, and that is 2 straight seasons now of just horrible quarterback play.
I really don't think it was that bad overall. Like, were there games here and there where he played badly and had bad throws? Yes. Were there games where he was lucky? The San Francisco game comes to mind because it was wet and he had at least 2 throws that were into like the chest of the defense and they just dropped. Those probably should have been interceptions. He needs to play better, that's for sure. But it was his first year in this new system. I know it's Frank Reich's system, so it's a lot similar. But there's not the same. It is new though, because it's not the same personnel at all. Like, we can't play the way that the Eagles played in 2017 when we only have Pittman and we don't have anyone deep down the field to open it up, and we don't have a tight end that's worthy of the caliber of an Ertz. So it's not the same. He has a better running back and probably a better run game than he did. Although the Eagles were pretty good at running the ball in 2017.
Yes,
but it's not the same. And Reich's not running the same exact system he's running in Philly. And so I'm happy to give Carson Wentz another year, and we'll see how it goes. I hope that we can improve the offense, get him more weapons, and maybe tailor the offense to his strengths and not try to make him be someone he's not. But let's move on. I'm screaming too much. I mean, I am
looking forward to the 16th overall pick this year. That is all I will say.
Yeah, well, Howie's going to probably pick the worst wide receiver out of the bunch that he could. I'm not saying just wide receiver just because you have Jalen Reagor and Whiteside and they're trash. But Howie will make the wrong pick. I have faith in that.
Well, he did swindle the Colts into a trade for Carson Wentz. So we will.
I'm going to give it another year, and I'm happy about it.
Oh yeah, you just seem so joyful. So joyful.
The whole team sucked. If any part of the team was better, then maybe Carson's mistakes would have been overshadowed, and we wouldn't be talking about this. The fact of the matter is, Carson does not control the entire team. Like, if the whole team played bad, why can I be mad at Carson Wentz?
Because Carson Wentz should be able to carry a team like a franchise quarterback should against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Not every franchise quarterback can carry like Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers.
Franchise quarterback is exactly that. Can carry a team when the rest of the team is down.
Then why did Patrick Mahomes lose in the Super Bowl last year? Could he not overcome his team? Because he's a franchise quarterback. So why didn't he win? Yeah. Exactly. Because you can't overcome when your team plays like absolute garbage.
So phenomenal. We're going to get to the NFL coaching vacancies here in a second, but I do want to remind our listeners that we are sponsored by Mohawk Honda, and it is a new year with new goals. Start your new year right behind the wheel of a new or pre-owned vehicle that fits your budget and your New Year's resolution. Stop into Mohawk Honda and check out their broad selection of pre-owned inventory. They are there to find the right make, model, and price point to fit your budget. Their goal is to help you meet their goals. Let Louis, the VIP man, Morales, Jake, Hot Sauce Doyle, Cars with Kern Sabota, or Mark from Clifton Park Ellis Jr. connect you up with the perfect deal. And right now is the perfect time to get top dollar for your trade-in with the Kelley Blue Book Instant Cash offer. Same day check in your hand the day you trade in that vehicle. Just ask for Brian Buy with B. Mac McKenna. Mike Bennis, Nicole Oser, or Cam Let's Do a Deal McKenna. Again, all of our sales and leasing consultants there at Mohawk Honda will make your New Year's automotive goals their top priority. Start the new year right with just the right deal at Mohawk Honda in Glenville, where they always go out of their way to please you. So many nicknames. So many nicknames.
You gotta
love it. Just love it. We have so many head coach, not so many, but a good chunk of NFL head coaching vacancies. Now, keep in mind, not many surprises. We are recording on Tuesday night. Actually, there's one massive surprise that we'll get to. We'll get to it. But as of Tuesday night of recording, we have 7 NFL head coaching vacancies. One of them isn't really a vacancy per se. I'm counting the Raiders as a vacancy. The Raiders are in the playoffs, and we'll see where it goes from there if they decide to actually go onto a head coaching search or not. So taking the Raiders away, we do have 6 active head coaching vacancies. The Jaguars fired Urban Meyer earlier in the year. We all know this. The Vikings fired Mike Zimmer on Black Monday. The Chicago Bears fired Matt Nagy on Black Monday. And the Dolphins fired Brian Flores in a absolute head scratcher. We'll get to that in a second. He was fired on Black Monday. The Broncos swiftly fired Vic Fangio on Black Monday. And Tuesday evening, just minutes before we recorded our episode, the Giants fired Joe Judge. I am so upset that they fired Joe Judge. Dang it! No, Giants. You're supposed to keep Joe Judge. No, I don't think it really matters. It is such an undesirable spot that I have a hard time believing they are going to get a really good candidate to be willing to go there. But let's look at these. Let's look at these vacancies. Obviously, Rich Bisaccia and the Raiders are in the playoffs. So, like I said, I'm not counting them right now. Although we'll see what happens once the Raiders are inevitably out of the playoffs. But
I would think just making the playoffs at the end there would warrant
Bisaccia deserves it. However, there's that
talk.
There's that talk of Harbaugh, and there's a lot of talk that they're interested in him as well. So how many NFL teams are really, truly looking for a head coach? Jaguars, Broncos, Vikings, Bears, Dolphins, and Giants as of now. That's a lot to unpack. Let's start with Brian Flores, Taylor, and really what came down the pipeline of why the Dolphins parted way with Brian Flores is because there was a power struggle there with the front office between him and general manager Will Grier. The owner decided to choose the side of Will Grier. It turned out that Brian Flores was the driving force for the interest of Desean Watson. So we'll see from there. The ownership group and Will Grier believe that they want to build around Tua Tagovailoa. I'm not so sure that's probably the best way to go. But to me, Taylor, this is the biggest shock. 3 seasons with Miami. Flores was 24-25, consecutive winning seasons to close his tenure. The Dolphins face uncertainty at quarterback throughout the past 3 years, drafting Tua over Justin Herbert. And to me, like finishing 8-1 on the year to get fired. I mean, look, Brian Flores is going to be a coach for one of these other vacancies. It's just a matter of who. But this is a head scratcher to me by far.
Yeah, I would hope he gets another job swiftly because I agree with you. I mean, his record overall with the team in his stint has not been great, but I mean, they didn't really have a quarterback. They still might not. They're running with Tua, I guess. I'm with you that I don't really know if that's the way you should have gone. I think if there was any chance that keeping Brian Flores would have gotten you Desean Watson, I personally would have kept him because I think that even if you think that Tua is decent or can become decent, maybe even good, Desean Watson can be great and is great usually, especially if he has a team around him. We haven't really even seen him with a decent enough team to really say that they're good. I mean, he's taken mediocre teams to the playoffs, and like just on his back alone, for the most part. Because I mean, he's so dynamic in the way he can run and pass. I know that he's obviously dealing with a lot of legal troubles, and we still have yet to see how that all pans out in the end. And that's like the only thing holding this back, or else this deal, I believe, would have already been done, or a deal would have already been done, if it was just a matter of him wanting to leave and them trying to get something out of it. But yeah, this one is a head scratcher for me. I really just the way they ended the season 8-1. That's such a strong finish, and it's something you can build off. Even if you were planning on keeping Tua and you ended up keeping Tua, I just think that ending a season 8-1 is as good a place as any to start into the offseason in the next season. So it really just doesn't make sense. And you look like Brian Flores is not on the caliber of a Joe Judge. Like Joe Judge deserved to be fired, especially how he handled that last game. But that was like the 3rd and 9 where they took a knee instead, or whatever they did instead of.
No, the quarterback snuck it.
No, his quarterback snuck it. Yeah, just to get a better punting position because they couldn't trust anyone to do anything at a 3rd and 9 on their own, like 2 or 3 yard line or whatever it was. But that was embarrassing. That's fireable. That Joe Judge should have been fired for that. This one, nah, I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about Joe Judge, and I mean, the move comes a day after Gettleman retires. He didn't retire. That's just the nice way of putting it. This is a Giants team, man. I mean, first off, Judge went 10-23 in his 2 years. The Giants got worse as his tenure progressed. He is now the 3rd consecutive Giants coach to be fired after 2 years. Ben McAdoo, gone after 2. Pat Shurmur, gone after 2. Joe Judge, gone after 2. This is a Giants organization that is an absolute shit show. You have no future on offense. You have no future on defense. You're stuck with Daniel Jones because you picked up his option. Congratulations. And this is a Giants team that last in points per game, last in offensive efficiency, last in yards per play, last in touchdowns per drive, last in points per drive. And over the 2-year span, Joe Judge was the head coach of the Giants. They had the 27th worst record. And since 2010, are the worst team in football. If you're looking at free agents, nobody wants to go to New York. You look at these other head coaching vacancies that we're going to talk about. They're all more desirable than the New York Giants. I have a really hard time believing that the Giants are going to find a decent candidate to fill this job. Now, somebody's going to jump because it's an NFL head coaching job. I get that. And there's only 32 of those in the league. However, this is so bad, and you have not seen a commitment from ownership. I mean, over the last 6 years, you've had 3 coaches. I mean, what? And they're all losing records. You have to consider who the general manager is going to be, who knows at this point. You have to consider the future, personnel. You don't really have that. And between their $72 million wide receiver and your first round pick, your starting left tackle has more receiving touchdowns than those 2 had this year. So, I mean, come on.
The only thing that I think could be redeemable about this, and this is I don't even think this is going to happen because of the way that the Giants are run. I don't know if they will give this much trust to someone, but if they can get someone who is a big name, I'm not even going to throw out names because I really don't even know who would be up for this. But to give them a type of like Bill Belichick situation where you're like, okay, you can be general manager / head coach. Pick all your players you want, have complete control of the roster, and be the head coach. If there was someone like that, that would be the only way that I think that this would be an enticing job.
And the way the Giants have come out with their statements, that's not the structure that I think they're going to go after. Because if you look at the co-owner Steve Tisch and John Mara, they released dual statements when Gettleman retired, quote unquote, got fired. they want to find a general manager that, has say in personnel and all that bullshit. This is just a horribly run franchise, and it's not going to turn any better. They don't have talent. And you can sit there and say, well, they have Saquon Barkley. And look, I love Saquon to death. I do. Me of all people. However, he needs a fresh start. You have Kenny Galladay, who just is not a fit there. You have Kadarius Toney.
And you're paying him a ton.
And you're paying him $72 million. Yep. You have Kadarius Toney, who looks about as bad, if not worse, than Jalen fucking Reagor. And he's a carbon copy of Sterling Shepard. Like, so what do you have no identity on offense. You swing and miss on offensive tackles. You don't really have a good defensive core. You're going to have to restart again. You don't have a franchise quarterback. Let me tell you this. Even if Russell Wilson leaves Seattle, and it sounds like he's not, it sounds like he and Pete Carroll are running it back. Even if you so say Russell Wilson ain't an option, which is what all Giants fans were really, really banking on, you got nothing. And this quarterback draft class ain't very good. So are you going to reach again on a quarterback because you have to? Just like you did with Daniel Jones? You picked the wrong one. You didn't have to reach for Daniel Jones. You probably could have got him in the second round, to be honest with you. But, I mean, the Giants, it's an endless circle. It's like a hamster on a wheel, man. I mean, they just keep doing the same shit over and over again. And look, as an Eagles fan, I love it. I love seeing the New York Giants as a fucking shit show because they deserve it. However, like, as a Giants organization, how do you break the wheel? I feel like Game of Thrones. Break the wheel. The Giants can't break the wheel.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is, like, I don't think in any way that they're going to do what I just laid out. No, I just think it would be fun if they did for them, like just to change it up and just like give someone complete control and like just see where it goes. Because I feel like a lot of the problem with Gettleman and the coaches carousel that has gone through is that Gettleman's picking the players and like it's just not working out with the coach and the players picking Daniel Jones and stuff like that. Like that's why if they were to go the route of giving power of player personnel to a head coach, I think it would work out better for them. But will they do it? Probably not.
Yeah, no, because that's what smart teams might do, and the Giants are not. They are not that, Taylor. When you look at the rest of these openings, and I guess we'll open it back up because I personally don't really have much to say on the Bears firing Matt Nagy. That was kind of a duh.
No. Most of these are like.
The Jaguars filed, Zimmer, duh. That team has way too much talent to be that mediocre. And a lot of that has to do with Kirk Cousins, but that's besides the point. And then the Broncos with Vic Fangio. I don't know if it's all his fault. I think he's a brilliant defensive mind. He never had a franchise quarterback. But
he may be better suited to be a defensive coordinator.
That's why I'm hoping Jonathan Gannon gets a head coaching job, and the Eagles are going to come on, Vic. Come be our defensive.
Eberflus gets fired for the Colts. I would love Fangio to be our defensive coordinator.
I would say Flores would be a great defensive coordinator for us, but he's going to get a head coaching job.
Yeah, I think he was a decent enough head coach. Like I really think he still has run in that.
The top candidates really outside of Flores, I think the top candidate right now is Doug Peterson, Super Bowl winning head coach. He is on his world tour right now. He is already interviewed with the Jaguars, interviews with the Bears and the Vikings and the Broncos coming up. He ain't going to the Giants. I can tell you that right now. So he is gaining a lot of interest as well. And then you have your typical guys that we hear. Josh McDaniels of the Patriots, Eric Bieniemy of the Chiefs, Nathaniel Hackett of the Packers has come up. He has been a popular name. Joe Brady may be out there. Brian Daboll of the Buffalo Bills is a coach that almost got a job last year. Decided to stay in Buffalo. Kellen Moore with the Cowboys as well. Byron Leftwich. And then you look at Todd Bowles with the Buccaneers. He is becoming a popular name as well. You mentioned Matt Eberflus with the Colts and Dan Quinn with the Cowboys. Those are some of the names that you're starting to hear with Jared Mayo of the Patriots is another guy you're starting to hear as well. And if you're looking at the most desirable spot, personally, I'd like to think the Bears is kind of intriguing. You still have a pretty good defense.
Fields,
if you have Fields, you might be able to work something out there. The Broncos, truly, I think they're a quarterback away. If you could get a quarterback, they become the Buccaneers when Brady went to the Bucs. I really think that they are a franchise quarterback or a top tier quarterback away from that team being a legitimate threat in the AFC.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being the case. I mean, Jerry Jeudy, especially, I think he needs to have a good quarterback to be like unlocked, and I think he could be really good. And their defense already has.
And I like
the
Sutton.
pieces
Tim
there.
Patrick's really
Sutton's good too. Yep.
Noah Fant at tight end. You have the combination of Gordon and Williams. Although who knows if Gordon's going to be there, but Williams is a stud and one of the best defenses in football. And one of the best defenses in football. So
yeah, and for fantasy purposes, next year I hope that Melvin Gordon is gone so that Williams can really shine because that man, once he's unleashed, he's gonna be a monster in fantasy. I think. Yeah, I'd say Broncos are a good pick. I mean, you said it before. The Vikings already have a ton of personnel that are really good. You have Dalvin Cook. You have, Kirk Cousins. Whatever you think of him, they have the defensive pieces. Justin Jefferson on offense. They have a lot of good. Adam Thielen. They have a good core of people. So I do think that is one of the top ones. But also, I think the Bears are intriguing too. I think the being able to kind of explore how you can unlock Fields and like really use him to his potential and maybe like a Jalen Hurts kind of role.
And that's why I think Doug Peterson would be a good fit for Chicago because of his relationship with, when Carson Wentz was really good. And then, he had the project with Jalen Hurts. Obviously, he didn't get to see it through. But I feel like Fields, you look at Peterson and you look at what he might be looking at, it's a young quarterback. So I look at Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence. I look at Chicago with Justin Fields. I have a hard time somebody's going to take the Miami job, but it's going to have to be somebody that believes in Tua.
Yeah, true enough. Yeah. I think that Peterson could do well in Chicago. I think Peterson could do well anywhere he goes. I think he's a good enough quarterback. I don't know who is going to get the Jacksonville job, but I also think that Jacksonville isn't like as bad as I think that they can be much better. Their defense is not.
I'd rather take the Jacksonville job than the Giants job.
Yeah, and you have Trevor Lawrence.
You have a franchise quarterback.
He hasn't played well, but he hasn't had the right people around him. And think about like Travis Etienne coming back.
Yes.
That's another piece of the puzzle that you're going to get back, and that's a fun piece to play around with when you have Trevor Lawrence. So I think that's a decent job too. And also, a good division to be in because, the AFC South, the Texans are going to be bad as long as they don't have a franchise quarterback. So that's you want to stay with them. I know the Titans are good and the Colts I think will be decent. Even if they're not good, they'll be competitive. I guess not against Jacksonville on the road, but but yeah, so I think a lot of good places out there. I do think the Giants, unless they were to give them that type of job, like I said earlier, is it not the greatest. The quarterback situation alone, if you look at that, the only worst one might be, Kirk Cousins, but he's not worse than Daniel Jones. I'd take Kirk Cousins over Daniel Jones any day of the week. So,
absolutely. So, obviously, we will be updating everyone as the NFL coaching vacancies start getting filled. If any more open up, that is going to be interesting to see. I think Joe Judge was really the last straw when it comes to vacancies right now. I have a hard time believing you're going to see any more fall at this point. I think Joe Judge was that last one. But we'll see. We'll see, especially what happens with the Raiders. We'll see if maybe the Cowboys are disappointed if they, fall flat on their face in the playoffs. What happens with Mike McCarthy? We will see. Let's head to the playoffs, though, because obviously that is the important piece of all of this, right? Super wild card weekend. We have a full wild card slate of games, 2 games on Saturday, 3 games on Sunday, and a game on Monday night. The wild card matchups are set, and I read as follows. The Raiders and the Bengals will play. The Patriots and the Bills will play each other. And then, obviously, the Steelers and the Chiefs will play each other, with the Titans having a bye as the number 1 seed. And in the NFC, you have the Niners and the Cowboys, the Eagles and the Bucks, and the Cardinals and the Rams, with the Packers on a first round bye as the top seed. Let's go to Saturday's slate of games first. We'll go game by game. We'll do our picks. We'll do our preview. We'll do our predictions. Raiders and the Bengals to start it all off Saturday at 4:30. This is a game look, the Bengals are coming in red hot. They look like a legitimate threat, not only to make a push in the AFC, but some people's dark horse to possibly win the whole thing if they keep playing like they were playing on the offensive side of the ball. I don't think the Bengals are there yet. However, when you look at what the Raiders have done, and they have been a fantastic story this year, really, truly an unbelievable story with all the adversity they have gone through. However, the Raiders are one of those teams that I feel like when it comes to do they have enough left in the tank, I think it took all they had just to get to this point, to play a Bengals team that was able to rest their guys come week 18. The way the Bengals are playing right now, I have a hard time believing that this Raiders offense is going to be able to keep up with what this Bengals offense is going to do.
Yeah, and that's my feelings on it as well. I mean, the Bengals are playing as good as anyone right now. Like they are a scary team, and I think coming into these playoffs on the AFC side, they are definitely the team where you're like, I want no part of playing them, because I do think that they could realistically beat anyone on any given Sunday, or Saturday in this case.
We have seen it. We've seen it.
And they just played the Chiefs, and they played them well, and they were able to win in that game.
Took the Packers to overtime.
Yeah, exactly. And those two are arguably, in my mind, two of the best teams in the NFL.
It's my Super Bowl prediction.
Yeah, so I definitely think that the Bengals are as hot and as scary a team as any, and I will be taking the Raiders in this one.
You're taking the Raiders?
No, I mean the Bengals. The Bengals.
Oh.
Sorry.
Like, whoa!
Bengals, no. Although the Raiders did win me a lot of money on Sunday, betting them, barely beating the Chargers, almost tying. I was really afraid that they were going to tie at end there. Obviously, everyone and their mother wanted that to happen. Chargers definitely wanted that to happen, except for their coach calling that stupid timeout. But yeah, I'm picking the Bengals. I think the over in this one is the way to go. I think it's going to be high scoring on both sides. But Bengals in the end. Joe Burrow is playing very well lately, and I expect that to continue. And the Raiders, I do think they've given it all they've gotten to get there, and I think Bengals are going to win.
Yeah. So, well. I just have a hard time believing that the Raiders have enough left in the tank. The Bengals are playing so well, so I agree with you. Let's go to the Saturday night game. AFC East 3.0, the rematch of the rematch. The Patriots and the Bills in Orchard Park. Obviously, these two went into Week 18, basically figuring out who was going to be the home team of this game. And it turned out that the Patriots kind of laid an egg against the Dolphins, even though Flores still lost his job. However, the Patriots did not look very good. The Bills didn't look great either, but they did win. And they host the Patriots on Saturday night. And Taylor, we saw wacky weather the last time these two teams played in Buffalo. It's not going to be wacky. However, the game time temperature at kickoff, 4 degrees.
It's like outside right now.
It is. Oh my God, it's so cold
it's
right
so
now.
Cold.
I believe the real field temperature right now is like -8 outside. It's lovely here in upstate New York. I love living here. Really do. Love it. You can sense the excitement in my voice as I talk about living in upstate New York. This is going to be another one of those games. I mean, when it's 4 degrees out, you're having issues throwing the football. So it's going to come right back around to what we saw last time, but different circumstances. I mean, you're going to be able to throw the football a little bit, but still not at an efficient rate. This is going to come down to, can you run the football? Now, Buffalo should win this game for all intents and purposes. However, this Patriots team, we all saw what happened last time when the Patriots ran the ball down a Bills defense throat that they still cannot figure out how to stop the run. The Bills did a better job, the second game around against the Patriots, but they were able to throw the football. This is going to be interesting to see how this game unfolds. This is going to be a very, very close game too. Bill Belichick and the Patriots. However, Mac Jones making his first career playoff start in his rookie season against the Bills team that wants to get back to the AFC Championship game and kind of avenge what happened last year.
Yeah. This one is kind of hard to predict. I mean, I think in my heart, I do think the Bills will win this game. If it turns out to be more snowy, more windy, and more akin to that last game, I might pick the Patriots in that circumstance. But really, I think the Bills are going to be able to throw it. I mean, Josh Allen, I don't think he really cares about the because I mean his ball, he can throw the ball so hard that he doesn't really get affected, I don't think, by cold weather too much. It's his receivers, whether or not they can catch the ball, being, the freezing ass hands getting thrown hard balls by Josh Allen will be the key there. But I just don't think the last time that the Patriots beat the Bills, they ran it nearly every play and Mac Jones only threw it 3 times. I just don't think you're going to be able to do that again.
No.
I know that by midpoint in that game, the Bills knew that the Patriots were going to keep running it almost every time, but it's just not going to be like that. I don't think this Saturday. There's no way that the Bills are going to let them do that to them in the playoffs with everything on the line. I think that if the Patriots are going to win this game, Mac Jones is going to have to make some plays. And I just don't know if he's ready to make those plays. It'll be his first career start. He is a rookie in general, not even just first time in the playoffs, first time playing this season. Mm-hmm. It is his first year in the NFL. I just don't think I can trust in Mac Jones to win a game against this Bills defense with them being motivated like they are definitely going to be to win this playoff game.
I desperately want to pick the Patriots because I think the Bills are destined to disappoint. However, I think the Bills are good enough to beat the Patriots. I've really been turned off by what I've seen by the Patriots really since the Buffalo game, the first Buffalo game. They have not been playing that well, and Mac Jones has kind of looked like a rookie again. It's just not the situation for Mac Jones and this Patriots team yet. I think they will be good down the road. However, this is not their time. I think the Bills will at least win this game. Let's head to the Sunday slate, Taylor, and that kicks off the 1 o'clock game. The Philadelphia Eagles head down to Tampa to take on Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. And obviously, we all know last time the Eagles faced off against Tom Brady in the playoffs, it was Super Bowl 52, and the Eagles won. The Eagles played the Buccaneers earlier this season, lost 28-23 at home. And the Eagles are pretty significant underdogs, 8.5-point underdogs heading into this game. And obviously not many people are giving the Eagles that much of a chance. However, I raise to you, I like the Eagles in this game. And obviously, you're an Eagles fan, you're going to say that. Hear me out, though. Hear me out on this. The Eagles almost beat the Buccaneers earlier on in the year. 28-23, they lost. They didn't have Dallas Goedert. They didn't have Lane Johnson. They ran the ball 8 times. 8 times. This is not the same Eagles team that you are going to see this weekend against Tampa Bay, who has gotten less healthy and have lost significant pieces of their team. Their leading wide receiver, and Chris Godwin, is out for the year with a torn ACL. Antonio Brown lost all his marbles and quit mid-game. Their defense is decimated with injuries. They are going to get Leonard Fournette back. However, that plays right into the strength of the Eagles defense where they can stop the run. This Eagles team has been able to run the ball at such a historic clip, and nobody really has been able to stop it. The weather right now is for 65, however, very windy and chance of some thunderstorms. It screams, run the football. This is an Eagles team that, look, Tom Brady cannot stretch the field right now. He can't. He doesn't have the weapons to. Mike Evans is playing on a bad hammy right now. You don't have a wide receiver that can stretch the field. This Eagles defense has been playing pretty darn well. There's going to be a lot of Eagles fans down in Tampa. It's Tampa. There's going to be Eagles fans in that stadium. It's not going to be that tough of an environment. Jalen Hurts has played in big games before. Now, if the Eagles win this game, they go and play Green Bay. That's a different story. But let's get there first. However, the Eagles are going to beat the Buccaneers on Sunday. Sunday.
Sunday, yeah. Well, I hope you're right, because I am putting money down on the Eagles because they are such underdogs that, I mean, the odds on it are plus 320 right now. So, I mean, that's if they make
the Eagles are plus 5,000 to win the Super Bowl. I'm not saying I did it, but I'm telling you I did it.
No, but at plus 320 to win this game, I'm comfortable putting $20 down just to see. And then if it hits, I get like, I think it's close to 200. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy putting that down, and especially because you've laid out the situation so nicely to where they could win. But for our purposes, I'm still going to go with the Tampa Bay, because I understand they are missing a lot of pieces on defense, and their defense is not the same as it was early on when they played the Eagles or where they played a lot of teams where they were shutting down the run game. I don't think they're going to be able to shut down Philly's run game. Not at all. Can they limit it somewhat? Possibly. I'm not too worried about the weapons situation because Tom Brady makes it work. He's made it work with less.
I know
he still has Gronk. He's going to lean on Gronk a lot. I'm sure the Eagles are prepared for that, and I would hope that they're prepared for that because he is going to be the main target, I think, on majority of these little intermediate throws to try to get first downs. He's going to be targeting Gronk heavily and often, and probably in the red zone too. And Mike Evans, as much as he can get involved, he will get involved. I'm not worried about them not having AB because they didn't have AB for the majority of the year because he's just been hurt. Godwin, obviously,
they still had Godwin. It wasn't a problem because they had Godwin. But now that they both don't have AB and Godwin, it's a bit of an issue.
Yeah, it's definitely missing some pieces. But if there's one person I will trust missing pieces, it's Tom Brady. So I'm gonna pick Tom Brady and Leonard Fournette coming back. That'll definitely help the Tampa Bay run game because it really hasn't been anything without him. Like it's been a hodgepodge of Ronald Jones and whatever else they're throwing out at running back, and it hasn't been very good. Not that Fournette is a world beater or anything, but he is definitely like their best running back that they have. So getting him back is going to be big for them. If they can run the ball a little bit, then it'll make it even easier to use the weapons that they do have. So I'm still taking Tampa Bay, but I mean, I'll be rooting for the Eagles, so I win some money.
Yeah, the Buccaneers are on upset alert for me. I really like the Eagles in this game, and I would be the first one to tell you when I don't like the Eagles. Let me tell you, if they win this game, trust me. As much as I love my Eagles, there's no way in God's green earth I think they're going to go and beat the Packers in Lambeau. But for this week's conversation, yeah, they're going down to Tampa and beating Tom Brady. Let's go to the 4:30 game, the Niners and the Cowboys. The Niners looked pretty darn impressive with Jimmy Garoppolo back. I mean, both teams had everything to play for, so it wasn't like the Rams were letting off the gas a little bit. The Niners went into L.A. and beat the Rams. The Cowboys haven't looked right. Like, look, if you want to look at the Cowboys and say, well, they put up 51 points against the Eagles on Week 18. Yeah, the eight stringers were in for the Eagles. So, I mean, I know the Cowboys were celebrating like they just won the Super Bowl. However, don't take any stock in what happened in that game when it comes to the Cowboys. And when you take that game away, the Cowboys have not looked good. They have not looked good. They still cannot run the ball. Dak Prescott needs to be more secure with the ball and make crisper, quicker decisions. The defense has been leaky. They couldn't stop the run. Guess what the Niners like to do, by the way. And they just I don't know, man. The Niners are playing right at the right, they're playing their best football at the right time. The way they're using Deebo Samuel right now and the way that they're playing on defense, guess what? And I'll do some, little help out there for you betting heads out there. If you do a Sunday parlay, Eagles money line, Niners money line, and then take the Chiefs here in the Sunday night game, 2 upsets, because guess what? I'm taking the Niners to beat the Cowboys. That's a pretty damn good parlay. Niners are going to upset the Cowboys in Dallas because guess what? There's going to even be more Niners fans there in Dallas as well. This is a Niners team playing right at the right time. There's a couple people, take your opinions about them, at face value, but Rex Ryan likes the Niners to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl.
Whoa,
but
really?
Yeah.
He's insane.
I know he is. But the Niners are starting to convince people that they can make a kind of a run. I don't think they're going to make that big of a run. However, they're going to beat Dallas on Sunday.
That's a hard one. I mean, you talk a lot of truth, and you make me want to take the Niners. I don't know if I will, though. The Niners are playing very well. And you can't really put much stock in the Cowboys win over the Eagles because the Eagles obviously were playing with mostly B squad. So it
was like D and
they
E
destroyed
squad.
them. But
the backups were in.
Yeah. And the Cowboys, outside of that game, haven't been playing amazing. But the Cowboys just have so many weapons, and I think that their offense can be so explosive at times, and their defense, maybe not the best in terms of like yards per game or anything like that, but they do lead the league in takeaways. So there's that. If there's a quarterback that I trust that he might throw an interception at some point, it's going to be Garoppolo, assuming he's the one who's going to get the start. So I don't know. I could definitely see the Cowboys turning the ball or getting the Niners turning the ball over to the Cowboys a couple times, and the Cowboys taking advantage of that. And that's where I kind of see the advantage going to the Cowboys, especially with the firepower that they can have. Not to say that they will or that they always will. And I do think that the Cowboys are going to falter at some point. I do not think that they're a Super Bowl team in the slightest, but I think they can beat the Niners. I know that the Niners have been making this big push to the playoffs, and they won a bunch of basically playoff games, especially that last one, a win in your end game against the Rams, who are a playoff team. So obviously the Rams didn't have as much to play for. They already clinched their berth, but they could definitely move up in the standings. And I think the division was still on the line in that game, depending on how other games went. So I give all the credit to the Niners, but I'm going to take the Cowboys.
I tried, America.
Hey, maybe I'll put a bet down. I don't know. Like you're
I don't know.
My
parlay of Eagles, Niners, Chiefs here sounds pretty nice. Not gonna lie.
We'll take a look at it. Also, I think if you're gonna do an anytime touchdown score, I think Deebo is a lock for that as well.
Yeah, he's always a lock. He's always a lock. That's why I did it last week and won $200 off it. Let's go to the Sunday night game, and that's the Steelers and the Chiefs. Like, look, the Steelers are in the playoffs because the improbable happened, and the Colts lost to the Jaguars. We thought that last week was the end of Big Ben. Big Ben gets a final ride, and honestly, I think Big Ben is kind of wishing that the Colts just handled their business, because this game is going to be so horrifically ugly that Big Ben is not going to go out on top. The Chiefs, for all their faults this year, are going to absolutely obliterate the Steelers. Like, this game will be over at halftime.
Yeah, most likely. The only thing that the Steelers have going for them is their defense and TJ Watt. If maybe they can get some pressure on Patrick Mahomes, they can maybe keep it closer than an absolute blowout. But
just a blowout, right?
Yeah, not like a 40-point blowout, just like a 20-point blowout.
Yeah.
A 14-point blowout instead of like a 30. But yeah, ultimately, the Chiefs are gonna win this game. If somehow Ben Roethlisberger pulls this off, then I'm gonna be like, they're going to the Super Bowl. Last hurrah for Roethlisberger.
No, stop it. That is not. Don't even start
Peyton
thinking
Manning
that's
on the
possible.
Broncos in the last year type run. Noodle arm, Peyton Manning.
Noodle arm. Yeah, seriously.
Relying on the defense.
Oh God, that's gross. That is so gross. Let's go to the Monday night final wild card playoff game. That would be the Cardinals and the Rams, and the Cardinals really fall from grace, right? This was a team come early November that people thought were the bona fide Super Bowl favorites. The way they were playing, Kyler Murray was playing at MVP level.
Oh no, not Carlos. I picked the Rams.
And the Rams, they're 12-5, but they seem to be losing these maddeningly confusing games. Like, you don't know what to think of the Rams. And I still don't, and I don't trust them. But I think this is going to be a very good game. However, I think the Cardinals are just losing DeAndre Hopkins hurts. And I know that there was talk that he would be back this week. It doesn't sound like that's going to happen. This is a Cardinals team. Ever since that injury happened, they haven't been right. The defense is starting to become a little more leaky. I like this Rams team to, at least at home, take care of business against the Cardinals. It'll be a very good game. I don't fully trust Matthew Stafford, but I trust Sean McVay more than I do Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah, I think that both I would say the Rams and Matthew Stafford are under more pressure.
Absolutely, they are. I mean, the Rams are all in right now. They don't have a choice.
Exactly. They've burned first round picks to get Stafford, to get Von Miller, to get OBJ. Like they've sold the future for the now, for right now, and their window is probably pretty small because
2-3 years.
Yeah. They're going to lose these pieces. Von Miller's getting up there in age and whatever else. Who knows if they're going to keep OBJ after this year. Obviously, they'll get Robert Woods going forward next year. But, they're under tremendous pressure. But, Arizona has been faltering as of late. I know the last couple games, they've been rough. I mean, they couldn't beat the Colts, and the Colts didn't even have anyone on the offensive line that start except for maybe one person, and they're missing a bunch of pieces due to COVID and whatnot. And that I look at that game, and if they're going to play with that level of confidence in this game, it's going to be a Rams victory. I agree with you that I don't trust Stafford either. I don't know how far that the Rams are actually going to be able to make it. They were my Super Bowl pick to begin the year, but I don't know if we were going to pick right now. I wouldn't pick them to make it out of the NFC. But I do think they have enough to beat this game, to win this game. If you take out the 49ers game, they have been winning. I mean, they won against the Ravens, they won against the Vikings, they won against the Seahawks, they won against the Cardinals a couple weeks ago. And then their last loss besides the Rams or the Niners was the Packers game, which obviously they were bound to lose anyway because we both, I think, believe at this point that the Packers are maybe the best team in all of football. So I think that the Rams have enough, like you think, to beat the Cardinals in this one. But I do think it'll be a good game. I think it'll be one of the best games of the week, honestly.
Yeah, no, this is one hell of a way to cap off Wild Card Weekend.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing putting it on Monday.
I hate the fact that there's a playoff game on Monday, though. I hate it. I think it should be 3-3. I don't understand why they did it. I understand why they did it because ESPN has to be special and think they can, do whatever they want. They can't. But it's going to be
let's have a Friday game. Let's have a Friday game.
I know. What the hell?
Why Monday? Mondays are sad.
I know. Mondays suck. Mondays absolutely suck. But we just went through all the wild card games, and before we head on out of here, I mean, let's talk about. Let's put it on the record now. I mean, obviously, Super Bowl favorites, and we had our predictions in the beginning of the year. You had Chiefs Rams. I had Chiefs Packers in the Super Bowl. We both picked the Chiefs to win said Super Bowl. And as we look at it now, I mean, who is your Super Bowl favorite at this point? I know who I'm going with. I'm going with the Green Bay Packers. I think they have looked like by far the best team in all of football. And as much as I want to maintain my prediction of the Chiefs winning it, I just simply in good conscience can't. The Packers, and Aaron Rodgers, I think, is MVP at this point. But the Packers have played so well and have been so dominant all but week 1 that I think this Packers team is just destined to run it back. I mean, they are going to win the Super Bowl, in my opinion, and I don't think I really have a team that's that close as a second option. I mean, don't doubt Tom Brady and the Bucs in the NFC, I guess, but I just laid out why I don't even think they're going to beat my Birds this weekend. I don't believe in the Cowboys. We just talked about how we don't trust the Cardinals and the Rams. And then in the AFC, it's a whole bunch of teams that I feel like are on the same level. I feel like it's a whole bunch of teams. Like anybody can beat anybody. However, they don't have that team that I think can even get hot at the right time and go and beat the Packers. I mean, the Chiefs maybe, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, I originally at the beginning of the season said Rams, Chiefs, and Chiefs winning. I'm going to actually fully agree with you at this point. Like, I think the Packers are the best team. I think they're playing the hottest right now. I think they have external motivations, not just to win. Obviously, they want to win, but like, this is the swan song for Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, because we all assume that he's going to leave because he's made it clear that he wants to, and maybe even Devontae Adams going with him or leaving in general too. So
a lot of talk he's going to get franchise tagged, by the way.
That's
a lot of talk,
but
yeah,
I mean, I would if I were the Packers. But yeah, so I really do think that they're just like, everyone's just motivated. You know, we're just gonna go out, we're gonna play, we're not gonna worry about what happens tomorrow. We're just gonna win this Super Bowl this year, and I do think that they're the best team in the NFL. And if I had to pick a second, in the NFC, I would pick Tom Brady, just because I can't bet against him, and I wouldn't be surprised at all.
They're losing to the Eagles this weekend, so pick another team.
No, I'm picking them because I don't think they're gonna win against the Eagles, but I think they're gonna win against the Eagles. But it's just because Tom Brady, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Tom Brady made a run for the Super Bowl and won it again. On the AFC side, I really do think the Chiefs are looking like the team to beat. I think that's obvious, and I think that they could definitely beat the Packers. Maybe if they're playing like really, really, really perfect football. When it comes down to it. Any other AFC team, I mean, the Bills don't really strike me as a team that's going to be going and beating the Packers.
I mean, don't count out Derrick Henry. But
we didn't talk about the Titans in the first round bye, really. But I don't believe in the Titans, really. I mean, that's just me. I don't trust Ryan Tannehill very much. I know that maybe they can just run it down everyone's throat, but at some point, I think you're going to have to make some plays. And I know that Tannehill does make plays, but can you do it in the playoffs? Can you do it in the highest level? Can you do it against the best teams? And can you do it in the Super Bowl when the hype is the highest? Honestly, I think the Bengals do intrigue me a lot, just because they've been playing so well offensively, and Joe Burrow's been playing well. Not that I'm calling them making the Super Bowl or winning it or anything, but if they stay this hot, the ceiling is pretty high for them, I think, if they're staying as hot as they have been, and if their offense is that unstoppable with Jamar Chase and Burrow and Mixon and all those guys put together. I think that they have a really high ceiling. They could go. I think they could go to the Super Bowl. I really do, if they play their best 3 games of football coming up.
And that's kind of what the playoffs are about. Who gets hot at the right time, right? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, we've seen teams that deep down we feel have no business being in the Super Bowl, like the Giants a couple of years ago. But they find themselves there because they got hot at the right time. So I agree with you. The Bengals are my dark horse team. When it comes to the Bills, I think they're in line for a massive disappointment. But outside of that, man, like, I can't with good conscience. I mean, I think the Patriots are going to lose to the Bills, but I can't see them doing anything.
Mac Jones can't. He can't. He is
the Raiders aren't. The Steelers aren't. I mean, Patrick Mahomes. I think. I mean, to our point, like, I really thought for the longest time the Ravens were my team in the AFC, and then obviously all the injuries derailed their season.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you think I'm considering the Steelers to even beat the Chiefs, I mean, we just talked about how silly that sounds. I mean, I can't even believe I even mentioned that. I just think the Chiefs, I think they're going to fall backwards into the Super Bowl this year. They may not even be playing their best football at the time, but I think just the way the AFC field is playing out, I feel like they're going to find themselves back there for a third straight year.
I definitely do. Honestly, like I'm putting it down right now. If the Chiefs are not the team to make the playoffs or to make the Super Bowl, I think it'll be the Bengals. I really do. I think the Bengals are playing well enough right now. If they can continue this, they could do it. Can they win it? I don't know, because the Packers are pretty damn good.
I mean, let's be real. Nobody's stopping the Eagles. Hey man, underdog mentality. But no, this we'll see how it goes. We'll see how many parlays. By the way, our New York betting is now a thing in New York. So I think come once football, and we started to incorporate it into the show this week, but I think we'll start having a segment of some bets to place each and every a week, whether it be basketball. But it will be a lot of basketball.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what else are we gonna do?
Because baseball's not going to be a thing. Yeah. Well, yeah, you're not betting on the Australian Open. Come on, man.
Oh yeah, I've live bet that shit.
Yeah, you and me both, bud. We'll obviously bet on the NFL and then MLB, and there's actually some decent NHL bets. You can make some money on the NHL as well. So
my betting year started off pretty great last week, so
mine did
only go down from here.
Mine did too. Amen. Might as well cash out now before it goes away.
Yeah.
But no, obviously we will keep it locked into all the football games and keep everybody posted on those NFL vacancies, as well as we'll start diving into the NBA once the NFL starts winding down. The MLB and the MLBPA are meeting next week for the first time since December 2nd with a proposal on the table. So maybe some good news there on that front. But outside of that, it is quiet outside of the NFL and some NBA talk. So obviously that will be our significant coverage for the time being. Keep it locked into our Twitter account at, you know what I just realized, Taylor?
What? You didn't have the ticker going?
I haven't had the ticker going this entire time. How
will people know where to follow us?
I know. Well, I'm going to tell you right now. You could go to our Twitter account at sports_podcast and our personal Twitter accounts at ZBryce21 and at TLats with 2 T's and 2 S's. You could follow us there on Twitter, and we will obviously interact with you as well via social media, whether it be comments, DMs, whatever it may be. We would like to thank you for listening to this week's episode of Sports with a Z and a T. You could find this and every episode on Spotify as well as YouTube and Apple Podcasts, but Spotify, the most important one, because you can now rate on Spotify at the top left-hand corner where the star is, and rate us and give us your feedback. Every little bit is appreciated. And of course, we are presented by Godzilla Media, sponsored by Mohawk Honda, Josso Supply in Troy, and Saving Face Barbershop up in Saratoga Springs. Taylor, any parting words for the good people of Sports with a Z and a T?
Make sure you follow, subscribe, like, share, tell your friends, and enjoy this weekend's wild card football. And if you are betting, I hope you win money. Let's all win some money.
With that, fly, Eagles, fly. Go, Birds. Bing bong. We will catch you next week when we present to you the Eagles Packers showdown, where the Eagles will upset the Packers.
Yeah.
Book it. Eagles
going. You're gonna like 1,000 on that, plus 1,000 if you could get the
Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. Enjoy the week, everyone. Sure. For Taylor, I am Bryce. This was Sports with a Z and a T. Stay safe out there. Stay warm out there. My Lord, it is cold. Yes. And we will catch you next week right here on Sports with a Z and T.
See ya.